Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. And we are back with the glossary of legal terms. The first phrase today is quasi-offense. A quasi-offense is an act that is not a full criminal offense but may attract a legal consequences, often classified as a minor or regulatory violation. It typically lies between civil wrongs and criminal acts. The scope covers minor public law breaches, traffic violations, or regulatory penalties. The next phrase is tenancy at will. Tenancy at will is a type of rental arrangement where either the landlord or tenant can terminate the tenancy at any time without a prior notice. It lacks a fixed term or lease period, offering flexibility but less security. Its scope is mainly in residential or commercial property law. The next phrase is business judgment rule. The business judgment rule protects corporate directors and officers from liability for decisions made in good faith with a due care and in the best interest of the company. It assumes that they acted on an informed basis without a conflict of interest. Its scope applies to corporate governance, director liability, and fiduciary duties in company law. The next term is evidence. Evidence refers to information, documents, or testimony presented in legal proceedings to establish or disprove facts. It can be oral, documentary, digital, or physical and must comply with rules of admissibility. Its scope encompasses civil, criminal, and administrative law, forming the foundation of fact-finding and judicial decisions. The next phrase is loan contract. A loan contract is a legally binding agreement where a lender provides funds to a borrower under specific terms, including interest rates, repayment schedule, and a collateral, if any. It defines the rights and obligations of both parties and can be enforced through civil law. The scope covers personal loans, commercial loans, and financial instruments across banking and finance. The next phrase is quasi-legislative act. A quasi-legislative act is an action taken by an administrative or regulatory agency that has the force of law, such as issuing rules, regulations, or orders. Unlike ordinary legislation, it is created by executive or administrative bodies rather than the legislature. Its scope includes public administration, regulatory complaints, and a governance oversight. The next phrase is testimonial evidence. Testimonial evidence refers to oral or written statements made by a witness under oath presented in court to establish facts in a case. It is a primary form of proof in both civil and criminal proceedings. Its reliability and admissibility depends on witness credibility and procedural rules of evidence. The next phrase is legislative assembly. A legislative assembly is a deliberative body of elected representatives responsible for making laws within a state or jurisdiction. It functions to debate, pass, amend, or repeal legislation. Its scope includes lawmaking, budget approval, and holding the executive accountable. The next phrase is product recall. A product recall is the process of retrieving or correcting products found to be unsafe or defective after they have been sold. It is a legal and a regulatory mechanism to protect the consumer safety and enforce standards. The scope includes manufacturing defects, labeling errors, and a consumer protection law. The next phrase is legal tender. Legal tender refers to currency that must be accepted if offered in payment of a debt under the law. It is the officially recognized medium of exchange within a country. Its scope includes coins, banknotes, and monetary transactions regulated by the central bank or monetary authority. The next phrase is property division. Property division is the legal allocation of assets and liabilities between parties, often in divorce or inheritance cases. It ensures equitable distribution according to statutory rules or agreements. Its scope includes marital property, jointly owned assets, and probate matters. The next phrase is out-of-court settlement. An out-of-court settlement is a resolution of a legal dispute reached by the parties without involving a court judgment. It saves time, costs, and maintains confidentiality. Its scope spans civil disputes, commercial conflicts, and personal injury claims. The next phrase is long stop date. A long stop date is the final date by which a contractual obligation must be fulfilled, after which remedies for breach may arise. It sets a definitive limit to performance in agreements. Its scope is common in commercial contracts, mergers, and real estate transactions. The next phrase is unascertained goods. Unascertained goods are items identified only by description rather than specific individual items, leaving their exact identity to be determined later. Ownership and risk typically pass when goods are clearly ascertained. The scope applies to sales contracts and commercial transactions under goods law. Next phrase is winding up. Winding up is the process of dissolving a company by liquidating assets, paying debts, and distributing any remaining property to shareholders. It is typically initiated voluntarily or by court order. Its scope covers corporate law, insolvency, and business closure procedures. The next phrase is marriage contract. A marriage contract is a legally recognized agreement between two individuals outlining their rights, obligations, and property arrangements in marriage. It can include prenuptial agreements or civil contracts. Its scope extends to family law, inheritance, and marital property regulation. The next phrase is usurious interest. Usurious interest is an excessively high or illegal rate of interest charged on a loan prohibited by law. It is considered exploitative and can render a contract void or unenforceable. Its scope covers banking, finance, and consumer protection laws. The next phrase is Lux domicili. Lux domicili is the law of a person's domicile that governs personal status such as marriage, succession, and a capacity to contract. It is used in private international law to determine applicable jurisdiction. Its scope includes family law, inheritance law, and cross-border legal matters. The next phrase is under service. Under service occurs when a party receives less than the required legal or procedural notice, such as inadequate service of process in legal proceedings. It may render the proceedings invalid or subject to challenge. Its scope lies in procedural law and civil litigation. The next phrase is weak evidence. A weak evidence is proof that it lacks credibility, reliability, or sufficiency to strongly support a claim or defense in court. It may include hearsay circumstantial facts or poorly corroborated statements. Its scope affects trial outcomes, standard of proof, and appellate review. The next term is legitimation. Legitimation is the legal process by which a child born out of wedlock is recognized as a lawful child of the parents, often granting inheritance rights. It may occur through subsequent marriage of the parents or statutory provisions. Its scope is in family law, inheritance law, and civil status records. The next phrase is maritime law. Maritime law or admiralty law governs shipping, navigation, and marine commerce. It addresses disputes over contracts, torts, injuries, and salvage at sea. Its scope includes international trade, shipping regulations, and liability issues for maritime accidents.